day. And if you mention this show, he will send this team out for a free appraisal. Get in touch with him today. Go to areahomelending.com. That's areahomelending.com, and tell him Blake Ruffino over at AYS sent you all by. All right, Mr. Breiden Fehoko. Breiden, what's going on tonight, my man? How we doing?
Man, just nothing much. Sitting back, watch some sports, some NBA games, just enjoying my off season right now.
I hear you. Well, man, we're very excited to have you on. We got a lot to get into, a lot of questions. I know a lot of fans are in the chat, want to know, so we'll get to some of those in just a second. Breiden, I got to ask this question first because you're one of the first NFL players that I've talked to after the season. You've been through some really big ups. In 2019, the best team to ever field a college football team, you were on that team. Then you go into the NFL, and then COVID-19 happens. Was this not the toughest season that you've ever been a part of this past year in your rookie year with the Chargers?
Oh, without a doubt. And I say this because there wasn't a lot of guarantees this year. There's no preseason games. There wasn't. You never knew if we were going to make it as a league past week 8 this year. There was a ton of rumors about the league getting shut down and all the games that were going to be postponed. And, we had those incidents and COVID outbreaks with other teams and just affected everybody in the league. So without a doubt, I feel like this was one of the toughest years. And I think going on into this year, it may even get tougher for the incoming rookies just based off of what I've seen so far.
Well, Breiden, you bring up a good point, and if anyone has a question, do it what you always do. Hit us with the hashtag #AskBreiden. You bring up a good point there, too, because the combine's not going to happen. You're not going to have a lot of these pro days. I mean, were you – during this process of going into the NFL in March and COVID-19 hits, were you getting really worried in reference to that? Like, man, what – there's so many uncertainties. Were you always kind of maybe just a little in the back of your mind, like, man, what's going to happen here? Or did you have people – kind of walking you through and helping you through that process?
My agent kind of helped me just kind of grasp on what was going to happen, throughout the process and what to expect with everything. As far as the combine being canceled this year, I remember last year when this COVID outbreak and the pandemic first came upon us, I had a bunch of visits to NFL teams get canceled. And so I was a little bummed because I was like, you know what? It's all right. We're going to have a huge pro day. A bunch of my teammates that went to the combine didn't participate, so they're going to get to we're going to get all the scouts, all the coaches. Everybody I talked to, NFL-wise, NFL personnel, NFL coaches, scouts were all like, we're looking forward to seeing a pro day. Fast forward about a month, and I see that LSU pro day gets postponed. It was around the same time, I don't know if you remember, they canceled the baseball season last year, or the SEC.
Yep.
The SEC had the shutdown. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, postponed, maybe a week or two at the latest, we'll get to do our pro day. We get to April 3rd when our pro day is supposed to be, and all of a sudden it's, I'm sorry, there's no pro days this year. Everything's canceled. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's tough because everything I had to do from there on was virtual, whether it was FaceTiming with position coaches, meeting with other teams, just going through the process. And it was kind of a little stressful because I was like, you know what? I've trained so hard for the past few months, worked the past year winning a national championship. I want to be able to showcase everything in person with these coaches. And I'm not getting the opportunity to do that was the toughest part. And so, going into this year, I just kind of feel for the rookies coming into the NFL that are going to be in the same position I was in. Undrafted, not getting a chance to showcase in person. And hopefully, and I say this optimistically, they do go through at pro days this year because I feel like all the kids that have come out for the NFL draft this year deserve an opportunity to be looked at.
Breiden, with all that being said, listen, this is so interesting from a fan perspective, right? Because we always know the process, but you actively lived it, okay? And to do what you just did, and I don't think, and look, I'm not trying to just pat you on the back here, but to do what you did, Hard Knocks, people falling in love with you. We have people coming on this show saying, get Breiden on, my favorite LSU player. So, it was just interesting the way that in your character and how you were able to build on that was just absolutely so amazing. With that being said, and we have a couple questions, more line inside of Facebook Live. people are basically just asking, what's the biggest adjustment from LSU in 2019 to the NFL? Now, we saw on Hard Knocks when you were working with Melvin Gordon, talking to Joey Bosa, you were picking their brain. What was the biggest thing for you going into last season, just on the field related?
Oh, that's a great question. Being on the field, I think the biggest difference, and I was talking with one of the guys I was working out with in the gym today, Dietrich Wise from the New England Patriots. He is sorry, my dog is just being a psychopath right now.
Hey, I have a 2-year-old who will run in here and go crazy, so it's all good, brother.
No, so I was talking to Dietrich Wise, and we played the Patriots, and so we both got to chat after the game. But the biggest thing I've noticed on the field difference, not just speed of the game, because everybody kind of gives you that answer. Oh, the speed of the game is a lot quicker. It happens a lot faster. But I noticed in college, compared to the NFL, guys are trying to really take your head off in college.
Right.
We played Florida, we played Alabama, we played Auburn. Like, literally, guys are like trying to plow you into the dirt, and they're trying to just take your lunch money. They're, figuratively speaking here. But in the NFL, yeah, don't get me wrong, guys are trying to be competitive, but it's more of a union. Guys are looking out for each other in the best possible way, so we can stay healthy to have a good season. It's one of those things where it's a league where it's a small world. You never know where you'll end up next year. As a player, you never know. You may be with the Chargers now, you may be with the Bills next year. So you always want to consistently develop relationships throughout the league, not just with fellow players, but with fellow coaches, fellow personnel members. That's the biggest thing I noticed, is developing not just on the field relationships, but off the field relationships as well. Because it's always a revolving door.
Absolutely. And Brady, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. Guys are in and out of teams. Coaches are in and out of teams. And so you always want to be able to have a security blanket to wherever I end up next, I want to be able to know somebody. I want to be able to know the system. I want to be able to be comfortable. Because I think that's what it comes down to, is as just human beings, human nature. We all want to be comfortable within our certain areas of where we are in life.
It's a great way to put it. And it's interesting. I'm not sure. Like, I played football in high school with a guy named Terrence McGee. He bounced around the league, and he talked about that vividly, right? Like, hey, I spoke to a running backs coach with the Bills. Then he goes to Baltimore, and I get picked up by Baltimore the next week. That's just very interesting that you hear that. We do have a question I thought was really interesting. Michael Ray on YouTube says, ask Breiden, what's your favorite Polynesian dish that you suggest that I should get into my belly right now?
Oh, that's a great question. Favorite Polynesian dish would have to be, you could go with, and I'm kind of being plain here, but you could go with lau lau. So lau lau is basically taro leaf that's slow cooked underground, and it's your choice of meat, whether you want chicken or you want beef or you want fish. But it's all marinated underground with onions, coconut milk, salt, pepper. I mean, Polynesian culture is heavy salt. So, I mean, there's no surprise. We use a lot of salt, a lot of mayonnaise, but it's all slow cooked underground, and that's probably the best thing, and it's super healthy for you. I mean, depending on how it's cooked.
Right.
It's super healthy for you. So it's one of the best things I suggest to go eat if you're trying to look for good Polynesian dishes.
Well, everybody's asking, like Nick Guidry just ask Breiden, I bet you missing the Louisiana food, the crawfish, the etouffee, man. Look, as a former offensive lineman, you a defensive lineman, I'm going to bring this up. Anytime somebody talks about food, we got to bring it up. It's something that was interesting. I've asked a lot of former players, and I'm going to ask you, and I know we talked about this before you came on the show. What's your favorite Coach O story? Like Joe Burrow goes on the podcast and he says that, hey, I'm watching film with Joe Brady and he's walking past. We just got to commit. And he's screaming, "Hold that tiger." Like stuff like that. What is your favorite Coach O memory that you can share?
Can confirm. He does do that. There's a lot of stories. All right. So we're playing Ole Miss. This is my junior year. We're playing Ole Miss at home. We have these things called call-out meetings, right? And so call-out meetings it's like the first meeting we do before the game at the hotel. So say we have kickoff for 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. We'll leave to the stadium from the hotel at around 3:45 from Lot Cook. So the first call out meeting is going to be at 2:00. And what call out meeting is we go through all the 4 core special teams. We'll have the starting 11 stand up, and then it's kind of where, Breiden Fehoko goes down on field goal block. And then my backup would say, so and so in. So Neil Farrell will be like, Neil Farrell in.
Right.
So the way call out meeting works is a coach will walk in or somebody will walk in and they're just bringing in energy. We have music blasting, guys are dancing. So we get to the Ole Miss week, right? And we're doing call out meetings. There's no music playing when we walk in, and we're like, geez, like, what's going on? We're about to go. Coach storms in the doors, right? And he just has this look on his face, like his eyes are wide open, like he's about to kill somebody. And he has 2 cans of Red Bull, tears his shirt off. He has like an LSU polo shirt, tears it off, 2 cans of Red Bull, like a scene from WWE Raw when Stone Cold Steve Austin has the Budweiser, the beer on the top rope, and he's just shotgunning it, chugging it. Coach O has 2 Red Bulls, cracks them both open, and he just starts going crazy. And everybody, like, we didn't even need a call-out meeting. Everybody just started going crazy. Like, we knew we were going to kick the living
You can
crap
say
out
it.
of Ole Miss.
You can say it. The living dog shit out of them. I'll say it.
The living dog shit out of Ole Miss that night. But that was probably one of my best Coach O stories.
It's interesting, Breiden. Like, you tell that story, and I just got done reading Flip the Script from Bruce Feldman on Ed Orgeron, and just the stuff that the man does. The Rock put in a character in his news TV series, and the Rock did the interview. I'm a big Rock fan. Like, we do the Rudy Poo segment of the week. Like, I'm a huge Rock fan, right? And so, like, when somebody would say, well, hey, Blake, what do you think about that? I'm be like, it doesn't matter what you think. I can see Ed Orgeron saying that. That's the best part of these stories. Breiden, I got to ask you, because I want to go – I know we didn't talk about this one, but just bring me here. Let's take a look behind the curtain in reference to 2019. After the Texas game, like, that's when I knew, right? Like, I've had a feeling y'all were going to beat Alabama. I had a feeling that you were going to get to the playoff. But for you, well, and let me back up. I was on the sideline for the Georgia Southern game, and something was different, right? Like, I've been down there before. I'd seen walkthroughs. It was just different. But for you as a player, when did you know that team was just going to be special, that you're like, hey, man, we got something rolling here?
Oh, man. I want to say after that A&M loss in 2018, okay? So we come back, and I had just got season-ending surgery the week before, but I was with the team. And so we get back from College Station, and there was just a sick feeling that night, right? We lost 7 overtimes, 74-72. We get back, and we're like, man, we hope the committee sees us as a New Year's Six team. We deserve it, and the way we should have played, the way our season went. And so there was that, and not just the loss of that game, but I think that was I want to say, turning point of our offense. That's when everybody seen what Joe could do as a quarterback.
Right.
It was late in that game in overtime where Joe started running. We had quarterback runs. Joe started dicing it up in the pocket. We knew we're like, whoa, like, we got a legit offense. And then UCF, whoever that kid was that hit Joe late, like, he literally woke up a sleeping giant.
Dude.
From that A&M game, I think that loss was like, man, we don't want to put ourselves in this situation where we have to leave it in the ref's hands. Let's go. And I remember Coach O told us in our team meeting that Monday, he's like, we should have won this game. I'm not going to pull the excuse card of the refs or this and the officiating. Why don't we, going into future, references, take it out of their hands? And that's why you've seen in 2019, we literally dominated everybody we played. And then you've seen it from Georgia Southern to Texas game. I remember there was literally an excuse for every game we played. Georgia Southern was going to be a trap game. Texas was going to be a shootout. Northwestern State, they're a Louisiana team. We're going to, there was always an excuse, but somehow we always figured out a way to rise to the occasion in what we were doing. And so, I mean, I think that was, from my personal point of view, the turning point was that A&M game when we lost, and we're like, you know what? This isn't going to happen no more. We're going to get things done, and we're going to do it in dominating fashion.
Former LSU and now Chargers defensive lineman Breiden Fehoko is our guest. Breiden, a couple more and we'll get you on out of here, man. You've been fantastic. This has been amazing. Stephen Miller says this is so great. A lot of people are saying this as well. I do have a question, and I've seen this twice, but Jay Samuelson 88 says, ask Breiden, are you still running the war zone?
A little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I suck at Warzone. The only shooter game I will play is PUBG. I think PUBG is much better than Warzone in my opinion. Bigger map, more guns. It's more realistic. You're dropping. I'm a big Fortnite player as well. I recently been playing a lot of Spyro, just getting back to my childhood days.
Right.
But I will get back on Warzone if the fans want to. We can run some, but yeah, I'm a PUBG guy over Warzone. Just my opinion.
Well, the RU Syrians are gonna hit you up on Twitter now because they want you to play Warzone. I'm just gonna let you know that.
Let's do it.
Breiden, I know that. And look, I've talked to former NFL guys, and they tell me it's always very tough to watch the season during your own season. But were you able to see a lot of LSU in 2020? And where do you think that they can come off of and make this season better? Neil Farrell, you talked about earlier, is coming back. Glenn Logan coming back. How big is that? Because you were a guy that I remember people were literally on the edge of their seats wondering if you were coming back for your senior year, right? What do you think that this team can do moving forward? And what did you see from 2020 that you think that they can improve on?
I think, the first thing that jumps out to me in 2020 is the defensive change. You go from running an odd front, and now you go to an even front. Basically you go from a 3-4 to a 4-3. One thing I can tell you about that is, as much as you want to project that I want this defense to be played a certain way, you got to think about the guys you've recruited, right? So you had Neil, right. You got Glenn, possibly Tyler Shelvin if he didn't opt out, but you had Apuika for a few games. You got Jacoby and Guillory, Jay Roy, a bunch of guys that were recruited to play in a certain system. Right now, you get a different defensive coordinator that runs a new system, a 4-3 system. Don't get me wrong. It's not hard to, play in two different systems. I did it in college. I did it at Texas Tech, did it at LSU. I played in multiple defensive schemes. But it's the little things you ask for out of certain positions, right? So out of your D-line, are you asking them to two-gap? Are you asking them to play penetrate defense? Out of your linebackers, are you asking them to be more patient, or are you asking them to be like Devin White where, hey, we're going to come downhill, we're going to play fast? Your DBs, we went from my year, we played a lot of quarters, and now,
right.
This past year they played a lot of man, just based off of what I saw. Different things, different identities in the defense is what's going to either make or break players in college schemes. Because when you get to the NFL, you don't get to tell a coach, I feel comfortable in this scheme. It's either you're going to learn how to run it or they're going to find somebody new. So that's the biggest thing about college I've seen this year was LSU, without a doubt, has the talent. I think them having, and I remember Jones. I remember him, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he coached at Hawaii.
He did. He sure did.
So they were recruiting me in high school, right? And I think I remember Coach Jones. I think he was like the assistant head coach or something, but he was a defensive coach on that staff. Yeah. Yep. And so I remember him, and seeing that he also learned under Aranda. I think LSU is getting back to the basics this year. I think that's a positive. They're getting back to ultimately what won us a national championship. A little bit of Joe Brady offense mixed with Steve Ensminger. Now you get a little bit of Aranda's defense mixed with Coach O's defensive line philosophy and play.
Right.
If you want to win games and if you want to ultimately hoist up that trophy at the end of the season, you got to get back to what you do best. And I think for Coach O, he's done a great job of this offseason of addressing those issues. Number one, finding out what kind of scheme your players fit in. And then number two, going to go get the coaches that do it. And then number three, bringing back the players for another year. I mean, you return everybody in the trenches offensively and defensively. That is huge for a college program. Yeah, you want to go recruit guys out of the high school ranks and develop them. But in this day and age, everybody wants wins right now, especially after Alabama coming off of off of national championship year.
Right.
Now the pressure's on every other SEC school to do it, because LSU did it the year before, Bama does it, and now it's like, hey, everybody's got to pick up their game. So I do feel really confident in what LSU and Coach O has done this season and the offseason changes they've made.
I know I saw you're about to do a podcast. Okay. And so I'm going to say this from someone who has a little bit of more experience. Do what you just did with that answer. You're going to crush it. Doesn't matter. You can talk about anything else. You do that, man. That was the way you just articulated. That was fantastic. Breiden, one more question. We'll get you out of here, my friend. It's been fantastic. What are you doing now? I know that the off season's really tough. I know that there's a lot of restrictions. What are you able to do now to get ready? And I know that we still have the Super Bowl, but as Derek Jeter once said, I take 1 week off and eat a Big Mac and I'm back at it. What are you doing actively now?
So after the season, true story, didn't tell anybody this. This is the first time I'm going public with it, but I tested positive for COVID-19. It was literally the last day of the season, and we did our exit meetings. And then I get literally the last test of the season. I get it back, and the head trainer for the Chargers, he goes, you tested positive. I thought it was asymptomatic because I wasn't feeling anything. And so I'm in the hotel. I'm in the team hotel. I just closed out my lease back in California, getting ready to come back to my home in Frisco, Texas. And literally a day later, I start feeling like I got hit by a car. I got a serious headache. I got body chills. Breathing was off and on, and so that happened. That stayed with me for about 4 to 5 days, and then I recovered from that. It's a real pandemic. It's a real issue, and I encourage a lot of people to take the right steps and continue to just be mindful of who they're around, what they're doing, until we can find a true vaccine, a true way to figure out how to beat it. But after that, I came back home to Dallas, Texas. Me and my girlfriend, we live here currently, and just begun training, not really hitting it hard. I'm up at the gym, Built for It Athletics in Prosper, Texas, just based off of where all the guys in the NFL train in the off season. It's ran by Kayvon Frazier with the Miami Dolphins, but just being a little mindful about if we're gonna have OTAs in April or if we're gonna have camp in August. Knowing how my body's going to be. I don't want to keep hitting it hard now and then hit a plateau where my body's hurting. And so I just kind of want to gradually just work into it, know what I'm working for this off season, and then just relax, just spend time at home, cook, clean, play games, walk the dog, do basic stuff, go bowling, during the week, just enjoy life, until I got to get back to it.
Breiden, you've been absolutely fantastic, my man. I know that we just put the plug in for the podcast. I'm not sure if you're ready to roll it out with, but I know every LSU fans knows where to find you. But tell them if everything you're doing on with the podcast and everything you got going on, my friend.
So, right now I'm just trying to build it, just trying to find out the right equipment. I already have my YouTube channel up, Breiden Fehoko. And so, right now, I'm a rookie around these parts. So I still gotta figure out the right microphone. I just ordered a new MacBook so I can do all my editing and stuff like that. So I'm so grateful for YouTube and social media because, you put something out there and everybody's messaging you like, hey, you should do this, giving you help towards it. And so when it goes up, it will go up on my Twitter, Breiden Fehoko 4. It'll go up on my Instagram at Louisiana_91. I'm looking forward to it. I'm basically just gonna be talking about anything: sports, life, food, you name it, I'll cover it, and hopefully I can get into some topics that people can relate to.
Absolutely, my friend. And listen, after the show, I'll send you some of the stuff that we use here, and we'll definitely help you out there. Anything that we can do, I'll definitely help you with out, man. But thank you again, and we'll talk again.